Welcome back to the Fast Life Podcast. We should have Jesse on here back again soon. Obviously, being out of town and doing the podcast alone, we had to do without. So I'm sure you missed that little queer. But anyway, yeah, man, we just, we got back, me and the wife, we tried to get settled in and, just started running into, issue after issue with this, move in this house and work and blah, 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 cry me a river, right? It's just been a pain in the butt getting back into the swing of work since we've been back. Yeah, man, it's been tough, but I figured out a lot of things on the trip, kind of got my head back straight where it needed to be and focused on the tasks at hand and the opportunities at hand. So we're going to be moving forward with those kind of things. And like I said, you'll hear in this podcast, just, realizing the opportunities that our business, the Fast Life Garage, has, and trying to capitalize as best as possible off of them with the work that we do within the opportunity. So hope I didn't confuse you with that. Anyway, this podcast is always brought to you by Texas Performance MC. We actually had Mark on this podcast. It was just me and him shooting the shit, going back and forth, talking about where our heads are at, where our businesses are at, what we're trying to do, what we want to do, what we wish we could do. That's pretty much what this podcast is about. No rhyme or reason, nothing important, I guess you'd say. But, we just wanted to shoot the shit and catch up like we typically do anyway. But we thought we'd record this one for you guys. But yeah, check out Mark, Texas Performance MC, on Instagram, also online. Don't forget he's in Cedar Park, Texas, which, if you're not familiar with the area, is northwest Austin. He has a full service shop, dyno tuning, performance. Plenty of parts, used parts, all kinds of shit in his shop. Picked up a few things for this little dyno I picked up from him. And, we kind of, also in this podcast, we kind of talked about the plans we have for the upcoming tour, hot bike tour, whatever they're actually calling it, So, yeah, don't forget to check him out, as always. Mark Matthews, Texas Performance MC. Also, we're brought to you by Paint Huffer Metal Flake. We had planned to talk to Brian from Paint Huffer on the way back from California, and we actually stopped through Phoenix at 12:30 a.m. or no, 11:30 p.m. is when we stopped in, and I told him, hey, dude, we can do the podcast, and he was like, no, man, I gotta go. I have to drop off orders at 12:30. Blah blah blah. Needless to say, we ended up talking not online or not on air till 1:30. So we definitely could have did a podcast, but we just didn't, and time was just kind of not on our side on that trip home. But as always, Paint Huffer Metal Flake, he loaded me up with new flakes and some pearls that I needed to get in my hands, and set us on our way with a nice banner for the shop and a new shirt and hat. So I think all those things are up on his website as well. I saw his new facility. It's coming along. It's looking dope. I'm kind of jealous, but happy for the dude nonetheless. Paint Huffer Metal Flake on IG, painthuffer.com. Check him out. Make sure you're getting your shit from him. He's also selling FBS and lots of other paint materials too. I don't know if they're on his line or online on his website, but I do know that it's something that he's going to be stocking in his actual warehouse. So check him out whenever you get a chance. Our next trip, I think, me and Jesse are going to be gearing up to make this trip here in June. We're actually going to just not do the other trips we had talked about all year, which I think we actually talk about in this podcast coming up. But, me and Jesse are probably going to get our dynas dialed in, and we're going to ride them up to Indianapolis and talk to Horsepower Inc. Horsepower Inc. is also one of our sponsors. Hopefully you guys follow them. They're building a really sweet Born Free bike right now. I hope you're following that on Instagram, which if you aren't, it's Horsepower Inc. on Insta. Also his website, horsepowerinc.net. And if you're on Facebook, Horsepower Inc. Indy on Facebook. If you don't know what they're known for the big bore throttle bodies for fuel injected bikes. They make them things fucking go. So they also do in-house dyno tuning and performance for V-twin motorcycles. They got everything you need for up there, man. So I hope you're checking these guys out. pretty excited to go up there and see these guys. I know I keep saying it, and it's gonna happen. But yeah, we're super, super excited for all this stuff. And actually, the money that you send us through Patreon is actually going to be what we're going to use this month for this trip. So right now, I think we're around $90-something. 2 bikes, 2 Dynas going 1,000 miles each way. So we're looking at 4,000 miles between 2 bikes. Yeah, I don't think $90 is going to cut it, but it's definitely going to help it, and that's what the point is. So we appreciate that, and if you're checking it out now, go on to our website, fastlifegarage.com. There's a link right on the front page for the Patreon. If you donate 1, 5, 10, 15, we even have a couple $20 guys. Actually, no, we don't. I'm going to be lying on that one. We have a couple $10 guys. That's what we have. But we do appreciate that shit. It really does help go towards this stuff. And I think this last month we had so many long podcasts that it actually costed me. It just costed us well over $150 this month of May to host these podcasts. And I know it's probably my fault for not doing this on another platform, but it just is what it is. But we enjoy doing it, and I hope you enjoy listening. Our listeners and it's been almost doubling every month. So, you guys are really helping out. And continue to. If you hear a you don't have to share every podcast we do, but if you listen to one of our podcasts and you like what you heard, share it on your Instagram, on your Facebook, or whatever you do, man. It helps us, and we appreciate that shit a lot. And it's just gonna help us grow and keep doing this stuff, and help us keep doing, just motorcycle shit with our motorcycle friends, I guess you'd say. But yeah, don't forget, check us all out on the websites and the Instas and the Facebooks and all that good stuff. And hope you enjoy this podcast. I had just got through driving from Dallas to Houston to pick up a Dyna that I got for a crackhead price. Then I went from Houston straight to Austin. We sat there, we went to dinner, we did this podcast, and then we looked over this bike, and then I got back in the fucking van and drove back home. So it was like a 600-mile day, roughly, just after driving back, not even a week after driving back from California. So it was kind of I hope that our energy level is good enough for you in this podcast. But, I feel like the content's still pretty entertaining. So I hope you guys dig it. Hope you enjoy it. And let's do it.
Hey, guys. You ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
Yeah, we can just do that. All right, it's rolling.
We're live?
Yeah.
We're high.
We're live, son. Back at the Texas Performance compound. I'm not drunk this time. I'm only drinking Monsters. So
it's always a plus.
Should be way better. But yeah, I guess I need to get up on the mic here. Yeah, dude. So I guess the last time we were here and we were talking, we were getting ready for Giddy Up.
Yeah.
Giddy Up was a blast for me,
Yeah, it was a good time.
We had just got your Softail done.
Yeah, you just dropped the paint off the last time you were here, and we got it assembled and got it out to Giddy Up. Had almost no miles on it still.
Yeah.
Seems that's how it always goes.
So taking that bike apart and putting it back together and just messing with it and stuff, any main differences that you kind of noticed in the build quality of the bike, or just, I
mean, the biggest thing that I noticed was the flywheel run out.
Okay.
They were definitely not where I would like them to be.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody was following us on Instagram saw we had 9,000ths run out, which is technically still good in Harley's book, but it's enough to where you couldn't run any sort of aftermarket oil pump or cam support plate or anything. I really won't make any big judgments until we get some more miles on it, and maybe we can tear it apart. I'm still debating on if I'm gonna leave it the way it is now as a 107, or S&S came out with a 124 kit, I think, for them, bolt-on 124 kit. It's either them or Revolution Performance. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, I thought it was Revolution Performance that did that one.
It may be them. I'm not sure who came out with the kit. I'd have to look it up, but I know there's a 124 bolt-on kit available for them. So trying to decide if I want to do that route, or if I'm just going to keep it the way it is and just ride the piss out of it, because that platform is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It is incredible handling. You know, I mean, we've only done basically 1,000 miles since we built it.
Yeah.
But it's been outperforming all the other bikes that I own so far. So
yeah, it's strange because like yesterday, literally, I went to I had stopped by Harley up in Dallas, Maverick Harley actually, and one of the guys that work there, he does all their social media and stuff like that. He's kind of working on a little. They're doing a soft tail, but they're putting like an RP fairing on it and stuff like that. And, you know, I was wanting to get with these guys to kind of, like the dealerships, to kind of get on board with kind of like what we're doing in the scene as far as the Dynas and the FXRs. Because up there in Dallas, like, there's techs that work in all these dealerships that are riding FXRs and Dynas. Mm-hmm. But their dealerships, the people that are making decisions, they're like not even paying attention.
Yeah.
Right? And rightfully so. It's not huge in Dallas.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like, I wanted to get with them and get them on board. And, I mean, the thing is, like, when you're going to those places, you got to, like, sell them, like, hey, look, let's do a show, performance show, and then your dynos will start, your Softails will start selling.
Yeah.
And shit like that. And it's not like, I don't want to make those statements, but I want to just get them to kind of, like, show a little, like acknowledge that these type of bikes or these type of, you know, riding is taking place.
Well, if you get a dealership on board with doing stuff like that, they'll become more popular. You know, a lot of people, for most people, they're going to build bikes either towards one of two things, which is either what their friends have or what the dealership is pushing.
Yeah.
You know, most people don't see outside of those two realms.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you can get a dealership to start pushing it, you can open the eyes of literally their entire customer base, even if they're not buying that type of bike. But if they're seeing that type of bike, they can start piquing their interest and driving interest in that direction. Whereas if they've never seen that bike or they've never seen that style of, you know, performance Harley or Harleys that are designed to be rode hard and long distances and stuff like that, they'll never really find it. You know, whatever you do, whatever you're into, as far as following on, you know, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. Very rarely do people get in those groups that you're following and post something completely different. So let's say if you're into big wheel baggers or you're into, you know, soft tails with ape hangers and fishtails, you're going to be in an echo chamber of those bikes for the most part, because you're only going to be following the people that are doing what you're interested in. So you're never going to see any other type of motorcycle.
An outfit.
So if they could do, you know, something on that front, and put on events that are not necessarily geared 100% towards that, but are open to that, you know, whether it be, you know, stunt shows or bike shows that have a special class for those bikes to incentivize people to bring their bikes out.
Yeah. I think that's the one thing that I can't quite figure out. Like, it's easy to walk in and sell them on the idea of a younger crowd and let's get some Dynas in the parking lot and some Softails and some FXRs and performance-based motorcycles. That's an easy sell, but for the dealership. But the thing is that, like, I know the crowd that ride these bikes, and they don't necessarily want to go sit at a dealership all day and, you know, collect poker chips and you know, see some, you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be an incentive for these people to want to come. So that's what I don't know. You know, like, I'll be honest with you, like, the stunt show, I don't think is really for us. I think we've all seen enough Harleys and Willies, and I'm not leaving my house on Saturday going, hey, there's a stunt show on the other side of town, I got to go check it out. That's just me, though. I know there's a lot of people that dig that shit, but, you know, that I feel like that's what wows the people that aren't used to seeing that. Right?
Yeah, no, for sure. It definitely does. If it's something that you're into and you've been into for a while, it may not be as big, but I think that that's what's needed to draw people in.
True.
You know, because we're not trying to get the people that are in it to stay in it. We're trying to draw more people to it.
That makes sense.
So you kind of have to have that wow factor that, you know, oh man, look at that. There's a bagger doing a wheelie down the street.
Yeah.
You know, wow factor for someone to be like, oh man, I got a bagger. I wonder why my bike doesn't do that, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, you got a heavy 30-inch front wheel and 70 speakers in your bike and 20, you know, LCD TVs and stuff,
Yeah.
you know? And so.
But yeah, so like I guess what my question is, like, yeah, the stunt show is going to wow the crowd, especially the people that aren't used to seeing that, and it's going to bring them more aware of things. But what do you do for the crowd that's already in it? Like, what's the incentive for them to stay still and come hang out at the dealership for more than a couple of hours and, you know, be what the show is about? I mean, like, most of these guys aren't interested in taking home trophies and shit like that for a bike show per se. But it's almost like you need it to be like
I think
this,
there's
like,
a lot of people that would be interested in that, but the problem with shows is, you know, everybody knows is it's all political. It's all who you know, who built your bike, you know, who's through the show, whose buddy is in, all that sort of stuff. That's a tough one, you know. Maybe getting out and doing more simple rides like we did right before Giddy Up. Like, that was a fun day, in my opinion.
Oh, you mean Texas Hills?
Yeah, Texas Hills.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, right before Texas Hills, where we all went and we just hit a couple of the roads around town and, you know, had a blast that day. It wasn't anything crazy. We didn't have anything crazy set up at places like that, but it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, those things are easy. I mean, they're easier down here in Austin because you actually have terrain that actually does more than go straight. But the Dallas area, we don't really have that. All we have is like highway structures and things and lots of construction and this and that and all kinds of other things. So it's really hard to figure out how to host any kind of events or shows there in Dallas and use the dealerships for it when I just don't know. Like, I think that's why we have a hard time. I don't know, man. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I want to see our dealerships in Dallas a little bit more involved in what's going on with the you know, the Sportster crowd and the Dynas and all these people that are out there running around these bikes, you know. But
yeah, I mean, the performance Harley scene isn't limited to Dynas or FXRs. You know, I mean, you can have a Sportster that rips. I mean, you can have a bagger that rips. You can have. I mean, I've seen guys. I know some people that can ride Softails harder than some of these guys are riding their Dynas and FXRs.
Yeah, they probably kick my ass totally.
But it's just one of those things that, trying to find something that everybody's interested in. I mean, the biggest thing is just getting people to get out. It seems like on the West Coast where I was from, before I moved back to Texas, everybody was willing to get out and even just go hang out in the parking lot for a few hours for a show or something like that. Whereas here, it's a little more difficult, it seems.
I think you're right, though. I think that's really all, like, us guys on this scene really need is just a place to congregate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. That thing that you guys are doing up in Dallas, the Dallas-Fort Worth Dyna stuff, that's awesome. You know, I'm super jealous of that. I wish we could do that, something like that here, and had the crowd to do that. I think it behooves Dallas to do that because you guys have the infrastructure to get around a lot easier from one side of town to the other.
We do.
Whereas, you know, leaving my shop and heading to South Austin, if it's any time after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's going to take you an hour and a half to go 20 miles. Yeah,
I think that's, you know, when we set that up, I just figured a place that was easy to get to and from and had a vibe that's like where you can just chill and like you know there's stuff going on around you and this, that, and the other. We could probably definitely use more parking down there for the bikes and whatnot, but we make it work and people come out. You know, now I'm pretty lucky because I'm about to move. Like, I guess I haven't told her, but I found a place. So I'm about to move like within a mile and a half from the fucking bike night, so I can literally probably just Uber up there. But yeah, man, it's a cool deal, man. I'm glad. You know, when I got a hold of all those dudes on the Dyna stuff and we started talking, we all kind of talked and we came up with the concept and you know, and those guys are, you know, they like. I'm glad that I was able to help influence some of it, but they're doing it. Like, they're the ones running it. Yeah. You know, the DFW Dyna crew is like, you know, they're putting on rides. They're taking in ideas from other people, and they're just.
Yeah, I saw they're gonna start. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be an every week thing like the Tuesday night, but they're gonna do something Thursday night. In Fort Worth.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's good because and I feel obligated to go because a lot of the Fort Worth dudes have been running all the way to Dallas. So, and mindfully so, like I'm also currently 20-something miles away from downtown Dallas as well, so I have to do a ride just like they do. But it's just cool. And then they're also trying to get like some group rides out of town. Like I think the weekend after Wrought Rally, I think these guys are going to go run up to Arkansas.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know if they're camping or if they're just going out there to.
Isn't that the same weekend as the Arkansas Jam?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if they knew that, but no, I don't know, man. It's cool that they're doing that, and I think that as the scene grows and as it kind of sweeps across the country, some of these us more like Dallas and I guess Texas in general, you're going to get these people that want to congregate and get together, and they're going to start being like, well, fuck it. If no one else is going to do something, I'm going to figure something out.
Yeah.
And like we've always said from day one in this podcast, and you say it, I said it, but when you see dudes trying to create things for you to do, go support it.
Yeah.
Instead of wondering why your scene's dead.
Yeah. Complaining that you got no one to ride with and no one to do anything with, but then when someone throws an event that's geared towards what you're interested in, you don't show up.
Yeah.
You say, "Oh, I worked all week," or "I'm tired," or whatever. Just jump on your bike and go.
Yeah, just do it. But yeah, no, Giddy Up was a blast, man. I guess we kind of talked about that 100 times on here, but man, like this whole trip, man, like just getting back from California has been like, dude, it's been tough getting back into the swing of work, because I went to California and it was fairly still like okay temperature here.
Yeah, and you came back as hot as balls.
And as soon as I left and got north of Interstate 40, it was cold and chilly the whole way, all the way through Cali.
Yeah.
Even in SoCal, it felt really great. And then you get back here and it's like, I go sit in the shop and I'm just fucking completely wet. Like I need to just take a baby powder bath like every hour and a half.
It was 100 degrees here today, which 100 degrees when I lived in Phoenix was like a cool day. But when it's 100 degrees here, but it's also 80% humidity, that's miserable. Yeah. Like I'll deal with 120 in Phoenix all day long with 10, 15, 20% humidity over 100 with 80% humidity.
Yeah, and it didn't help that when I got back here, had to turn around and figure out where the fuck we were going to live, and we had been talking about doing this whole shop thing and basically, trying to figure out, I didn't want to end up moving the shop to Austin or moving the shop to Fort Worth, and then I went and signed another lease.
I still think you should move the shop to Austin, but that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. So it was kind of like you had
a lot on your plate.
Yeah,
you weren't able to just come back and jump right into the groove of just every business as normal.
Exactly.
You were off doing something out of town, then you came back to somewhat chaos.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like we get back and we start trying to figure it out, and I was planning on just staying with my grandparents and shit, and then I came up by their house and I was going to break the news to them, like, hey, I need to stay here for a while, and then they're ripping the whole house apart to put hardwood floors everywhere, and I'm like, yeah, so I got to find a place to live now. That was my go-to, but we found a cool spot, man. It's back towards downtown Dallas, is where I actually enjoy being. I like being in a little bit more places where there's more social things going on and shit.
Yeah, I'm bummed just because it's going to be that much farther when I come visit you.
Yeah, exactly. I had a good point. I had a good spot, like on the way to Austin or something like that. But
yeah,
and man, like we're super busy, man. Obviously, we have a lot of work, and I've had to stop taking in work last month just to get everything that I have done before August, right? And man, there's just so much stuff. Like I talk so much about like wanting to go to Wrought Rally, but now it doesn't look like we're going to be able to go to Wrought Rally just because of work and logistics of things, and we don't have anything to show right now, so it's like pointless to just have a table.
From what I understand, they're really not even planning on doing an FX, a performance Harley section again,
So it's like I don't, going there would just be literally a party, and right now it's like, if I take 2 or 3 days off to do something, it needs to be, I don't think my customers are going to be okay with me going on another semi-vacation. You know what I mean?
You need to, if you're going to do it, it has to serve a purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
For the business. Yeah.
I think instead of doing that, we're just going to do the run up to Indianapolis. We'll take 4 days. I
know. I want to go so bad.
Yeah, we're just going to do that 4-day trip, and I'm gonna get Boosted Brad on here for you guys. We're gonna talk to HPI. We're gonna get my buddy James Carter. He's a seat maker. He used to do all the Jesse James' shit back in West Coast Chopper days, and still does from now, and just a great guy. So we're going to get 3 good podcasts out of that whole deal, plus hopefully be able to stop in and check out the FXR Jam, at least just stop in and say hi, shoot the shit, and then carry on to Fayetteville or something. Yeah,
I'm super bummed. There's no way that the pink FXR is going to get done by then. I just have too much customer work, and there's too much that needs to get done on that to where, you know, I can't put in the same number of hours because of some personal stuff that's changed from, you know, the last podcast to now. And so, you know, working till midnight is not an option anymore.
Yeah,
so there's no burning the midnight oil to get, you know, for 5 weeks straight to get the bike done.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there looking at it, and I've got the motor split completely apart. I'm going to rebuild the whole thing, flywheels up. And I'm looking at the frame, and I'm like, man, the frame, the powder coating is like the original powder coating from '88. It's starting to chip and fade and all this stuff. And same with the swinger. I'm like, man, if I'm going to redo the motor, I might as well just strip it down to the frame and just go ahead and once and for all just do this thing 100% right.
Yeah, I want you to go all out, because I feel like that's you know, totally what needs to happen. I mean, it's a good looking bike, but I think that between your skills with mechanic wise, and you know, I'll help you kind of figure out what finishes to go where and how to set it up, and I think it'll be a sick ass fucking bike. You know?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's going to take a decent amount of money to kind of finish it the way I want to finish it, but
yeah,
I think when I do, it'll look killer.
Yeah, know? Exactly. But yeah, the you know, like with that, and then, you know, I'm kind of bummed because I'm planning on missing Sturgis this year, which, again, I know I told everybody how badass it is, and it totally is, but we just don't have anything that's going to be done to go or to take it. You know, I don't even have the gold FXR anymore, so it's like, I don't want to be rolling up on there, you know, like, that's a business trip. So, you know, going to that, I need to be able to at least be at events with something that people would like to see. You know, being up there on a stock bike would just be a personal thing for me. You know what I mean? So, and, you know, with you know, after the podcast we did with Jeff Holden, we found out about the Hot Bike Tour still taking place and being kind of pushed back to October. That kind of gives us time to do the T-Sport, like, you know, like we were just talking, you know, just being able to go in, spend the extra time, and, you know, find the extra money to make this bike a lot more nicer than what we were originally planning on doing on this build, you know? Yeah. So. Well,
and, you know, riding to Phoenix in October is a lot better weather than riding up to Sturgis in the middle of summer.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, you know, if everything goes right, I mean, we're going to be blasting from Dallas to Phoenix, run what we brung on our backs, you know what I mean? A fucking sissy bar bag and some shit like that, and we're just going out there for a fucking week and a half, basically, and we're going to pound all these miles with everybody. And I'm anxious to see. I think I was telling you, the way they're going to do the Hot Bike Tour is basically they're going to leave Phoenix, go out, and then come back to Phoenix. So technically
over a few days, not like leave and then come back and leave and come back. Exactly. They're going to like leave, go somewhere, stay somewhere, go somewhere else, stay somewhere, go somewhere else, stay somewhere. Yeah. So I'm gonna try and make that. We're gonna try and see if I can find a babysitter long enough for my kid and make that happen, because that's fun, you know.
Yeah, and I want to see like how many people just leave on the bikes and stay on the bike and just live off the bike for the couple of days that we're out on the road, and not bring their whole, you know, 18-wheeler, you know, whatever, long following them and stuff like that. So I'm anxious to see that, but. It should be a fun trip, man.
It's going to be a fun time. And the nice thing about anything towards the West Coast is it's going to draw a lot more of the performance-oriented bikes. You know, I don't know. I missed, you know, I was the one that sparked you to go to the Tennessee one, and then I ended up having to back out because
it was a lot of performance bikes there.
I mean, no, I'm sure there
90% was. 90% of the people there were from the West Coast.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. And those are the people that could take the time off to drive across the country and spend a week out there and then go back across the country, back to the West Coast. So I think if they have it on the West Coast, you know, there's going to be a bigger crowd of locals. Even if they don't go the whole trip, there will be people, from what it sounded like, they're going to be in Phoenix for a couple of days, do the riding, and then come back to Phoenix for a couple of days, or the surrounding cities, you know, Cape Creek and Scottsdale, which are basically Phoenix. And so it's going to draw a bigger, even just a local crowd. Maybe they're not going to go on the whole route, but they'll be there at the beginning, and they'll come hang out at the end, too, which will be dope, you know. And then, like you said, there's some big shops in Phoenix that are doing some awesome stuff that are going to hopefully turn out for it.
You know, and I think that's the thing about the Hot Bike Tour that I like, is that I'm not trying to build this bike to win it or anything like that. Like, I just want to go out there and be respected amongst my peers, I guess is the word, right? Like, you just want the people that are also in the show to be like, man, you did a badass job. Like, you want that.
That's 10 times cooler than winning a trophy. Winning a trophy, like, you win one trophy, you win them all. I mean, there's only a few trophies that really mean something. You know, very few. Most of them, it's all, like you said, it's political based on who you know and if someone asked you to come and all that stuff. But when you have people that you respect in the industry that come up to you and respect what you've done, that's 10 times more valuable than a trophy that says first place.
You know what I really kind of like thought a lot about while I was driving across country is like, you know, I'm a very impatient person, like by nature. Like I'm impatient, and I've always kind of had this mindset that like if I get an idea and I don't act on it within a couple of days, then I know that the fizzle and the spark will die, and I won't have the same enthusiasm to go forward on that idea. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's where my impatience comes from and a lot of stuff like that. But, man, I just, you know, I guess I needed to step back and realize that, okay, like business-wise, we're doing good, you know, and I guess you get used to living in the red all the time that you don't realize when you're not in the red. So you still have the mentality like,
gotta hustle, gotta hustle.
Yeah. And now that I really don't have to, it's like I really just want to like sit back now and just stop pushing certain areas so hard and like focus more on the craftsmanship of my work.
Yeah. It's not that you're not hustling.
Yeah.
It's that you've got enough work to keep you busy.
Yeah.
Now you want to focus on the work you have instead of getting new work. Yeah.
And so I'm realizing that, and I'm also realizing that like the more and more that I'm pushing, trying to be the invited builder on Hot Bike or be this or be invited to all these things, it's like I feel like the harder I push at that, the less those things are becoming available to me.
And that stuff just like I said, it's cool and it's an honor, don't get me wrong, but 9 times out of 10 some of the coolest bikes you see at shows aren't in the show.
Yeah.
You know, it's the dude that has spent every extra dollar he's made for the past 6 months buying parts and building stuff and building the bike in his garage, or the dude who rode his bike all the way across the country to make it to the show and doesn't have the funds or the ability to trailer it out there and ride a bike and is sitting there working on it in the parking lot and has the knowledge to fix it when it breaks and stuff like that.
So you're talking about me all last year, right? No, but that's the thing, man. Like I'm you know, as a painter, you know, and as someone that really wants to do a lot more with you know, working on bikes and assembling and things like that, it's it gets hard to just be okay with just doing one thing. So that's where I get this like this over the top drive to just want to be doing more and more and build more and have my hands in it more and those kind of things. You know what I mean? So it's I guess the hardest part is like I don't have control over the opportunities that are come my way. The only control I have is the work that I'm putting out. Yeah. So I just need to stop worrying about the shit I don't have control over.
Opportunities will come. Yeah. I mean, the thing is anytime you focus on your quality and on your business, the opportunities will come. Yeah. But if you're, you know, I think going into it looking for the opportunities is kind of the wrong way to go.
And I think that's what I've been doing for the last year and a half. Is I've been, you know, you see the movement coming, like going, and you know, being here in Texas 2 years ago when the performance thing wasn't that big here, and you see it happening all around you. You know, fortunately, I've been able to travel a lot through and work, so I see it happening. And then, you know, there's this urgency to want to start doing it here and be one of the guys at the beginning and not, you know, the guy that, nothing wrong with being the guy that came into it late. No. But you just kind of want to feel like you're helping shape the movement of it here. Yeah. And so you, like I said, you get this kind of like weird mentality of like, there's like, if you take a day off, then you're fucked. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to like get out of that mindset, which I think I'm kind of there now. I'm like, fuck it. Oh, well, you know, like the podcast is going great. Business is good. You know, I have a bike to ride, you know, I got homies to ride with. So it's like, there's really nothing I need to like overextend myself for, really. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. And like you said, if you force it to grow, it's unnatural growth and it's not sustainable. Yeah. Whereas if you allow things to mature in their own manner, in their own way, and not force it, if it grows naturally, it's more sustainable that way.
You know what I think it does for me though, is I feel like I think about it so much, like, man, I'm supposed to be a builder on Hot Bike Tour. Like I put that so high in my life, right? And then, you know, you just kind of get butthurt, you know what I mean? And like that's the thing, is like I shouldn't be even considering or worrying about that. I should just be like, I should be looking at the artwork and the paint work and the things that I have my hands on, and that should be what is emotionally swinging me whether or not I feel like I did a good job on what I'm doing, or not a good enough job, or I can do better. Instead, I'm like allowing outside things that don't have that much bearing on what I do for a living can like control my mood.
Yeah.
You know, so I've kind of realized that over the last couple weeks, or just, you know, being out in Cali and just, you know, not being stuck, you know.
Yeah.
seeing open land and just being able to think, and, you know, you're just like, fuck, man, like, I got a lot of cool projects in my shop.
Well, it's, you know, a lot of people get worked up over things, and this isn't just in the bike community, but a lot of people get worked up over things they have no control over.
Yeah.
And if you have no control over it, being worried about it or worked up about it serves no purpose, because you're not going to change it. Being worried never solved any issue.
Yeah.
You know, sitting down with a clear head and thinking is what solves issues. But if you have no control over it, doesn't matter how hard you think about it or try and plan it or anything, you can't change it.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know, a lot of it was like, you know, when I stopped by Arlen Ness, you know, I have a good friend that works there, Brian, while I was up in NorCal, and, you know, while I'm waiting on him to come down, I'm just looking at all the shit that this man built over his lifetime.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm like, dude, you know, like, yes, I'm 35, I'm about to be 36, you know, in a couple months. And so there is that, like, you have that mortality thing in your head, like, fuck, I don't have forever, you know, especially when you get this like surge of youth coming into the industry and they're killing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It makes you feel like, fuck, man, like, these dudes are killing it already. I need to be, you know what I mean? Like, you start, I guess it's like keeping up with the Joneses, right?
Well, I remember that feeling when I started noticing that, like, you know, I'm not a huge sports fan.
Yeah.
But, like, every once in a while I'll watch, like, a football game, and then when I started noticing that the people playing football were younger than me,
you
know, and they're making, you know, I mean, granted, they're way talented, and I'm not hating on them at it by any means, but when I noticed they're younger than me, I felt like, man, what did I do? You know, like, that's it just feels, it felt weird, because that was the first,
I know what you mean.
First time, you know, and so when you see someone younger than you succeed, you know, going past where you are, it's not that you don't want them to succeed, but you're like, it makes you feel like, man, I need to step my stuff up because they're already bigger and they're
I got a good one for you. So Joe Rogan just did a podcast with George St. Pierre, right? And I was listening to it yesterday or the day before, I can't remember. And George St. Pierre is 36. I'm 35, about to be 36. And I'm thinking in my head, like, that motherfucker's old. He was like, I mean, he's still one of the best fighters, but he was badass 5 years ago. And now I'm sitting here and he's like, you know, I'm like, fuck, we're the same age.
He won the title and gave the title away.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's still kicking ass.
But it's just crazy. He's 35, you know, and it just gets to a point. I mean, the good thing about the motorcycle world is, like, it ain't like 50 and you're done. You know, there's dudes out there.
The nice thing.
It.
It's not a physical thing. So it's not like you hit a point where, you know, like a sport where after a certain age you just can't heal, you can't recover, you can't perform. You know, Arlen Ness is, you know, you brought him up. He's, I don't know how old, 70 maybe?
Got to be.
I don't know.
He was doing shit in the 60s, so he's got to be in the 70s.
But he's still building bikes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm sure he doesn't build as many as he did before, but I'm sure he's still involved in the bike building. It's not all his son and his grandson, you know. So you do have a longer lifespan in the motorcycle industry than like an action sports or anything like that. But
well, it put perspective. It made me realize, you know what, like, no matter how good I might think I am or whatever, it's just like we always say. It's just sometimes I feel like we always have to remind ourselves, or at least I do, that, you know, it's not up to me to say that I'm good enough or not. It's up to what the people see in my work. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if I'm constantly focusing on my work and allowing the audience to let me know if I'm doing a good job or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, you know, people that get online or whatever and, like, look at how awesome I am, look at this, look at that. Like, you don't, if your work is quality and you're doing good quality work, those people will say, you know, other people will say those things. You don't have to say it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm fortunate, or I'm not fortunate, but that's how I don't really carry myself that way. Like, oh, I'm great. I mean, that's the thing. But, you know, in your head, you know, you can still, you know, you still have the things that you think about.
Everybody has an ego. It's just learning to deal with it, you know.
But no, so it just kind of put perspective, man. It kind of made me feel like, fuck, man, I need to stop, like, pushing so hard on that aspect and push a little bit harder in other areas. It's actually going to make me better. Yeah. You know? And so that's kind of what I want to do now, is instead of feeling like if I'm not in Sturgis that I'm I'm not relevant, or I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, or I'm not winning, I'm just gonna skip it. I'm gonna skip it. I'm gonna focus on my skills, work on my welding, work on my airbrush work and paint jobs, and let that evolve.
Yeah.
And I'm more interested in going on the hot bike tour because we can hang out and we can ride like we did the time before.
Yeah.
So I'm more interested in doing the hot bike tour because it could be an actual vacation where we're just pounding miles and seeing all the cool shit in the Midwest, in the West. But we're not. It's not like it's just a different vibe than sitting at the Buffalo Chip at the not that the FXR show is not one of the baddest shows at Sturgis, but it's just a different vibe, basically.
Yeah.
We're not.
Well, it's a different priority, and don't get me wrong, like all the bikes in the FXR show can run.
Yeah.
For sure. Most of those, there's very few people that build a bike for the FXR show that is just a show bike. It's all designed to perform really well. But when you're actually out riding those custom bikes and stuff, that's when it's cool.
Yeah.
That's what's fun. When you see a bike that most people would look at and they're like, oh, that's a show bike.
Yeah.
And you see the dude out there smashing 500-mile days, 700-mile days, 1,000-mile days on it.
Yeah.
That's the cool stuff,
Well, it's like I was saying, though, man. It's like, by not forcing myself to be at every one of these events and having all these insane deadlines for everything, I'm hoping that it'll free up time so that I can work on some skills and work on some welding and work on these things that I haven't had to ever since this riding season kicked in.
Yeah.
And we've been balls to the wall busy, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to that, I'm hoping that the people that watch us will see the difference 5 months from now or 6 months from now. I want to feel the difference. I want to be able to look at the paint jobs I did last month or the ones I'm doing now and be like, yeah, that shit's weak now. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at mentally right now, I think.
Yeah, if you're not evolving and if you're not trying to perfect your craft, you're never going to go places. So, the key in business is to continue to try and better yourself all the time. No one's perfect, and if anybody thinks they're perfect, they're lying.
Oh, like Von Metal?
If anybody thinks that their work is the best on the planet,
it's nationwide call out.
There's one guy who has the best.
Yeah.
And next week it could be someone else.
Yeah.
There's always going to be, it's like
I think what's cool is that when people doing badass shit here and there, and they're like, fuck, man, that bike's so sick, and this and that, and that's what's been good about like the relationship I've been building with all the painters across the country, man. It's just is these dudes are reaching out to me, I'm reaching out to them, we're all fucking like having a good time, just enjoying each other's work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's much less of a competition. Like, the best thing was like just yesterday, or the day before yesterday, this customer from Cali called me about doing his bike, right? And he sent me nothing but pictures of Silent G's work from Valley Customs.
Yeah.
Right? Every picture he sent me that he liked and wanted to do was from him.
Yeah.
And he's from that neighborhood or neck of the woods,
Yeah.
And so my initial response was, hey, man, if you don't know G over at Valley Customs, I can give you his number because all the jobs that you were showing me is from him.
Yeah.
So, and he's like, oh, no, I'm just looking around to get differences. And, he was trying to, I'm not saying he's price shopping, but he was trying to find different painters. And he didn't follow us. He was just referred to us, right?
Yeah.
So I just told him, I was like, man, go check out our Instagram, man. Look at our work. If you like the kind of stuff that we do, then send me some pictures of my jobs that you like that maybe we can work with.
Yeah.
But right now, like, you seem like you need to be getting your paint job done by him. You know what I mean? And I think that was cool because I was able to text him real quick and talk to him and just be like, hey, dude, this guy's hitting me up. He goes, yeah, he already talked to me. I'm like, all right, well, I just don't want him to, like, try to pit us each other, financially. Like, oh, well, he said he'd do it for this price and blah, 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 which neither one of us are, like, hurting for work. So it ain't like we're going to,
exactly. And like you said, there's enough work to go around.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer that competition breeds better quality work. I enjoy it when there's other shops doing high quality work. Not that I'm not trying to do high quality work all the time, because I am, but it makes you have, if you never have to test yourself, you're never going to have to sharpen yourself.
Yeah,
And so if you've got something to test yourself against, you have to constantly stay sharp and sharpen your edge and keep your skills and your abilities at the top notch and peak performance, you know? And
yeah, it's definitely it's definitely good. It's good being friends with a lot of talented people too, because it just, you know, it's a lot easier when someone does something rad as fuck, and I'm like, hey, dude, how'd you do that?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you just do this. You want me to send you this and show you how? And it's like just a much more exciting place to work nowadays than I could imagine it would have been 10, 15 years ago.
Oh yeah,
So-
I mean, the social media aspect of it is awesome. You know, when I can reach out to a shop in California and just ask a couple, like, hey man, where'd you get this product, you know, or
what do you think
what
about
did you
this
think of the product?
Yeah.
Like, I've seen you install it a few times and I've got no experience, but I got a customer that's curious about running it, and you know, I'm just trying to figure out what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah.
You know, and an honest opinion where you're not having to, it's not like an article in a magazine where, you know, they were paid to say it was good to get their product in there or something like that. You can get a real honest opinion. Like, that's awesome. That's a super rad feature.
Yeah,
of
and that's good. That's,
social media.
Yeah, that's exactly what it should be for. So, yeah, dude, I don't know. It's been fun so far. It's crazy. It's already fucking about to be July. I mean,
know.
June.
It does feel this.
God, this year's running by so quick.
Yeah, this year has gone by very quick, very, very quick. I mean, it's one of those. It feels like just yesterday, you know, it was wintertime and it was snowing in Texas.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's 100 degrees outside. And it's
Yeah,
just
and it's
going,
like, you know, I don't know, man. Like, we were getting ready this year. We started this podcast, and we couldn't wait for Giddy Up. You know, couldn't wait for Daytona. And then, like, that stuff's long gone now, you know? It's like, it's already, like, now we're talking about Hot Bike Tour in October, you know what I mean? Like, it's a long ways away, so
yeah,
it's just weird. And
it's really not that long though when you think about it.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, October's going to come a lot
3
quicker.
months.
I mean, I thought
4 months.
My plan initially last year was to go through the pink FXR with a fine tooth comb over the wintertime. And I was so busy with work and had so much stuff in here that I didn't even touch that bike until a month ago.
Yeah.
You know, and my plan was to have it done before the riding season started, and that's definitely not happening. Now it's not looking like it's going to get touched until the riding season is over, kind of thing, which is awesome. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to have my pink bike back up and running. I love that bike. I love it's a bright bike. It's a fun bike. It runs incredible. It's an attention grabber, but I love the fact that I can't work on it because I have so much other work.
So, like, you got, you know, this shop will be 2 years in February or January.
So, I mean, we got the building in February. We were working on bikes by March, and we officially opened in April.
So, but you're, you know, like, what's the plan for you with this shop so far? I mean, you've outgrown it 100%.
I mean, I'm going to try. I don't want to expand too quickly. That's my thing. You know, I've seen it happen with shops where they try to push expansion really quick, and they end up getting into places they can't afford with overheads that are more than their profit. Yeah. And then they end up going under, having to downsize. I'm kind of doing it the exact opposite way. I want to wait until I absolutely have to get out of this place because I physically can't fit everything I need in here anymore. And it's the same with hiring someone. I get asked all the time by people, you know, when are you going to bring someone else on? When are you going to bring someone else on? Because right now it's just me. I mean, this whole shop is, I'm the bookkeeper, the accountant, the salesman, the guy that answers the phone, the guy that sweeps the floors, the guy that cleans the toilets, and the guy that works on the bikes. So, you know, everybody's asking, when are you going to bring someone else on? When are you going to bring someone else on? And, you know, I'm waiting as long as I can too. Yeah. And part of that is my own trust issues. I have a problem trusting people to do the same quality of work and taking the same pride in the shop reputation that I do. And part of it is that I enjoy doing it all. You know, I mean, if I could hire a perfect employee, it would be someone to do the behind the scenes stuff, the bookkeeping and stuff like that. I enjoy talking to people, you know, and when someone calls from, you know, Houston or Dallas or California or whatever to just ask some questions about what we've done, I enjoy talking to them and getting some knowledge of their insights and what's popular where they are and what they're doing with the bike. Like I love talking motorcycles and doing stuff with motorcycles.
Yeah.
That's the fun part.
So you think you'll just end up staying here and trying to until you're literally busting at the seams, or
that's the plan. Our lease runs out in in February of next year.
Mm-hmm.
So whether we re-sign a longer lease or we try and find a new place, I'm playing it by ear. I'm not gonna make any plans.
Yeah.
If business keeps going in the direction that it's going, by February we probably will need a little bit of a larger facility.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not 100% there yet, or I can't find a place in the right price point, then I'm not going to force it. I'll make it work. I'll buy a storage container and put it in the back lot and start using a storage container to store stuff in too, instead of keeping everything inside. And go.
That makes sense. That's probably what I need to fucking do.
Yeah,
is just like stop pushing. For like, I don't know. It's just hard, man. Like, it's hard because you want to grow and you want to be doing these things, and it just sometimes it's not being content with what you're doing. So
yeah, I mean it definitely, like I said, I think growing it naturally and waiting for it to be ready to expand is the way to go, and that's how you build a lasting thing. If you go back to the other example, like Arlen Ness, he didn't open that facility
up front, his
5th year in business.
Someone said this I was talking to Brian from Paint Huffer, and it sucks because, like, in a sense, people are like, well, you're kind of new in the industry, you haven't been here a long time, and then you start thinking about like how long you have been here, and it's just like, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's all good. Just so you guys know, Mark's a full-time daddy now.
Yeah.
So
we got a 5-year-old here. What's going on, baby?
I want to lay down.
You want to lay down?
Yeah, you can go
pause
check
this
that.
real
Yeah.
quick? All right.
Cool.
We're back.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, it's all good. No, it's like people would say, like, man, because for a lot of people that notice us, they didn't, they haven't known that we've been around. Like, we've never been like a big name in the industry. And technically, the Fast Life Garage is kind of a young company per se. Like, we've only been open for like since 2015.
Yeah.
And we've only been in the dyno, FXR, and performance world, or not that we build those kind of bikes, but we've only been working on those type of bikes as far as our paint work for the last couple of years. So it's like a lot of people, have a tendency to think that, or they'll say something to me like, hey, man, so when'd you get into doing this? And then you have this conversation with them and like, holy shit, you were doing this in 2004?
Yeah.
So in a sense, in my head, I'm like, why aren't we some huge shop? But then again, I realize that I don't want to be. So
yeah, I mean,
it's
that's the thing.
like,
I don't want to be a big, don't get me wrong. If the opportunity presents itself to expand to a point where I can manage, I'm not going to necessarily say no, but that's not my dream. My dream is not to like own a line of independent shops that are around the country, like a Mako or a, something like that. I enjoy doing this work.
Yeah.
I enjoy every day coming to work. Are there days when it sucks? Of course, just like any job. It doesn't matter what you do. You have the best job in the world, and there are days where you just come in and you're just not feeling it. But for the most part, I enjoy every day coming into work, working on bikes. And, the funny thing about the stuff that I prefer is building the custom bikes is fun, and I enjoy it, and it looks cool. But my favorite thing is when someone brings me a bike that's just running like a turd or it's in pieces, and they're like, hey, man, I just want to get it running again. Yeah. And getting that bike dialed in, and it may not be like a custom or some crazy performance bike, but getting them back on the road, and they're like, dude, the bike, holy moly, it runs so much better than it did before, you know, and I'm just stoked on they're stoked on every little thing that we did, the carburetor we put on, the exhaust we put on, the seat, the bars, like it's perfect. I love it. I love my bike now. That stuff to me is like, that's what I really enjoy, a lot. The custom bikes it's fun, and it's rewarding in a different way. But you know, I just don't have the clientele that wants to build custom bikes all the time. I'm not gonna lie. And plus, I really enjoy when someone brings me, hey man, this was my dad's bike. It's been sitting around, and you know, he gave it to me, or he passed away and left it to me, or whatever. And I just want to get it running again and back on the road. Yeah. And then when he comes and picks it up, he's just so stoked. He's more stoked most time than the people you build the custom bikes for.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's kind of where it's at, man. It's like, for the painting, obviously we work on almost everything we do is custom. So it's like you know, it's for everybody that's listened to me talk about all the different woes and things in the paint industry, it sometimes it gets really hard to be the most optimistic person in that industry, because when you see the prices of like the cost of doing a paint job being driven up so high, you know, that it gets to a point where it's almost impossible for you to make money. It's like, I just don't see how I'm ever going to be able to charge 10 grand to paint a Dyna. You know what I mean? No one's going to have that kind of money, but the way things are going, like with the cost of materials and the cost of having a shop, it's almost to a point where you almost just have to go and like just get a house with a garage, and that's the only way you can almost like break even at some point with the paint industry. And the more work you do,
well, especially a one person paint
shop, well,
you know, I mean, if you had 2 or 3 other guys that were in there helping you knock out stuff to where, you know,
true, but then think about it like that, like you were talking
ahead of the other people.
Not even that. Think about it like you just said with the with someone doing the work.
Yeah,
you know, if it's Jace's paint shop or the Fast Life Garage, and then I hire another airbrush artist to come in and start banging out shit, you know, he maybe is feeling this job one day, or maybe I pissed him off one week, so this work's going to be coming out shitty, and maybe someone comes to our shop because they want my look that I have, but now I'm giving them this guy that doesn't have my look. He might be better than me, but it might not be what I did.
Yeah.
So it's hard to expand my business beyond myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, like that, so I'm a slave to that, and that's kind of a scary thing in the grand scheme of business, is that I you know, if I just stay as a paint shop, then you're kind of never gonna have that ability to leave and still make money. Like, I'll never be able to go on a vacation and my business still makes money for me.
Yeah, that's a tough one. You know, I've thought about, I mean, that's the biggest reason why we don't go to a lot of events.
Yeah.
That are, you know, other parts of the country, is because if I'm not here turning wrenches, we're not making money.
Yeah.
You know, it makes it difficult, but it also makes it, you know, if you expand to the point where other people are doing your work, it's really not you doing, you know, it's the satisfaction of like, I did that, you know what I mean? I built that bike, I painted that goes away. You're like, my company did that, but you may not have even touched it potentially.
You know, back in the days, in the chopper days, you know, there was paint shops like Dino's and Area 5150, all these guys out of you know, Phoenix out there. They had production line painters going on. Like, they'll have 3 artists, 3 pinstripers, 3 painters, three all these things, right? Mm-hmm. And they're just banging out work, you know what I mean? Because there was so much money. Like, remember we were talking earlier? You're like, what would it be like if we had that kind of money floating around in our industry now?
Yeah.
Well, that's what it was like. And these companies were able to start their paint shops that way. But now our industry is very more personal. Like people probably want to deal with guys like me and you because we're a more personal shop. Like, you're talking to the owner, the painter, the sweeper, the toilet cleaner, all that stuff. You're not talking to just some dude that, you know.
Well, it's the different experience. That's why someone comes to an independent shop. If they just wanted generic work, you go to a dealership, and you know, the guy you talk to most of the time has never turned a wrench on a bike, or doesn't know how to, or doesn't know what's going on, is definitely not the one working on your bike, or the one cleaning your bike, or any of that stuff, you know. And you get that, there's sort of that disconnect, whereas when you come to a smaller shop, you get that personal feel. And that's why I think independent shops are awesome. You know, you can't, there's no ability to hide behind a service department wall, or you know, a management wall. You know, like, you call the shop, I'm going to pick up, and I'm the guy that worked on your bike, or I'm the guy that's going to work on your bike. And I think that's what people enjoy about it, you know?
Yeah, so I think, you know, what I've been trying to do after this trip to California and getting back, I've been, like, I want to actively, instead of just being a negative Nancy about the custom paint industry, maybe focus, like, my attention on how maybe I could pave a way, or help pave a way for us to have like people that are in the same shoes as me to have a light at the end of the tunnel. Like there's got to be a way that we can all like work towards that gold watch or that retirement or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, just basically trying to find a way to reinvest back into this and focus on the paint work. And still, you know, I enjoy working on bikes and doing what I do to bikes, and that's kind of like my when I'm not at work thing. That's my hobby on the side, you know, but paint's my job.
Yeah.
And for a while and for a long time I kept wanting to like flip it around, like make it to where working on bikes was my job, but painting them was a hobby.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, the things are the way they are for a reason, and things are going good for us. So, you know, it's kind of like, you know,
Yeah.
why fight good progress, you know, just because it's not what you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
So-
you're, you know, it's almost like, not saying it's exactly like this, but it's similar like trying to make a square peg fit into a round hole. You know,
Yeah.
if you got a round hole and a round peg, just put the round peg in the round hole. You know, don't say, well, I want it to be square, so I'm gonna hammer it until it's square. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. You know, I just want to start, you know, like when I was out of town, I stopped by like Coast Airbrush, which is a place out in Anaheim. They like pretty much the Walmart of the custom paint industry. So they walk in and you have everything right there. And I just nerded out in there, bought me a lot of things so I can come home and practice some of my weaker ends of my paint jobs. And,
Yeah.
and basically, you know, that's kind of where I realized that I need to calm the fuck down and just do what I'm good at and try to be better at it, and let whatever is going to happen in this industry and whatever's going to happen with me being in it just happen naturally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
So-
the same thing we talk about with shows. You know,
Yeah.
when people try and force a show to grow unnaturally, it may grow for a little, but it's not going to be sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whereas if you can grow naturally, I mean, it's just going to continue to blossom at that point. You're going to continue to see work, and the profits won't increase overnight.
Yeah.
But we're not in this business to make an overnight profit. If we're trying to make an overnight profit, we're in the wrong line of work. You
Yeah.
know, there's only one Arlen Ness. There's only one, you know, drag specialties.
Yeah.
You're not gonna become a multi-millionaire working on motorcycles for
Yeah.
the most part. You know, very few companies have done that. You know,
Yeah, you got to sell drugs on the side or something.
but if you can make it grow naturally,
Yeah.
and just show the passion and get people into it for the right reasons.
I guess my biggest problem is for me, and this is like a personal, probably I shouldn't be telling the world my personal, like,
Everybody wants
shittiness.
to know.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know, though. Come on.
But like, you know, it's like I'm a very I'm easily influenced. Like I'll see somebody do some rad shit online, and I'm like, fuck, that looks badass. I want to do that now.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And while there's a good thing with that, there's also bad things with that.
yeah,
Because you're constantly, it's kind of like having that grass is greener syndrome. Like, oh man, Brass Balls is doing cool shit now. I want to do that cool shit, but rightfully so. I'm already doing, you know, not being arrogant, but I'm already doing cool shit of my own.
yeah,
I'm just used to it, and that's new. So I'm like more interested in the shit that I'm not doing instead of what I am doing.
yeah. I mean, it's
guess.
like the saying, like, no, for every hot chick in the world, there's some dude that's had it up to here with her.
Yeah,
Everybody
I
wants.
told my chick that the other day. I just like, no, I did though.
Everybody kind of wants what they don't have, or they want to see constant change, and it sometimes can be hard to appreciate what you do have in front of
Yeah.
you at that point. But that's where slowing down a little bit can help you see that stuff. Mm-hmm. You know,
So I need to change my shop name to the Slow Life Garage for the next 6 months. We're gonna tone it down a little bit. Nah, that's kind of where it's at, man. It's just, and I guess that when people are in business and they do all these, like whether it's like you and doing stuff, you got to feel the same way when you see like a shop like Cruisy's or somebody doing shit. And you're like, fuck, they look like they're killing it out there, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's got to light a fire in your ass, but it's also got to be like in relative, like, okay, well, he's doing his thing and that's his thing. That's not my thing, so I need to focus on my thing.
No, I love it when I see other shops that are blowing up or
Yeah.
they're doing big things or getting, you know, features and stuff like that. It makes me want that, but there's zero resentment whatsoever. I'm
Yeah.
more stoked for that. Like when I see, you know, like you said, Cruzy, for example, that's a guy that I went to school with. You know, we partied a lot when I lived in Phoenix. He's probably slept on my couch more times than I can count, you know, when we had
Yeah.
party house out there. But, you know, when I see his shop succeeding, like, even though it's not my success, I'm still super stoked.
And
you know?
And I think that's the main difference about these feelings that I have about stuff is that it's not. I'm totally stoked for these people that are doing great. Like it's not like I'm mad. Like, oh, that should be me.
Yeah.
No, I'm like totally happy for them, and I'm totally like nothing but positive going out. But you know, it is kind of, you know, it does put me in that place. Like, man, I want to be there now, or I want this now, or whatever. You know, but I'm not like not wanting that person to get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's always good to have goals and drives and desires. I mean, if you had everything you wanted, you would be probably more miserable.
Yeah, definitely.
Than what, you know, it's
you would have nothing to look forward to.
Exactly, and you
Or
would have
work
nothing
towards.
to drive you, and you would have a whole different set of issues. So, you know, I use it as fuel to figure out how to better my business and my work and my stuff. But you know, it's I love it. I love watching other shops succeed. I think it's fantastic. You know.
Yeah, I think it'll be all right, man. I just, you know, basically, like you start. I think that we all might have a tendency to kind of get off the path.
Oh yeah,
and then you just got to kind of correct it and get back on it, and you're going. You know what I mean?
No one's ever on a perfectly straight path to a successful anything. You know, it's a winding, curving road, and sometimes you're on the shoulder and you're on those you know, rumble strips on the edge of the road. It's like, yo, man, you're about to go off. Time to kind of curve back this way and find your own way.
That's kind of what I feel like I kind of went through. Is like, you know, being up there, I had, you know, quite a few friends in NorCal that really wanted to invest in our company and still do, and rightfully, you know, it's all good. But man, like I just feel like I needed that trip that was like inspiring and eye opening and kind of put me back in my place and made me realize what I really need to be focusing on.
Yeah.
And not that the paint jobs that we've been doing lately, I'm not super stoked and happy that how they are. I totally am.
Yeah.
But I still need to have that same like passion and drive as I've been having towards these other ideas. I need to focus that back into the paint.
Yeah.
So that,
I mean, you can have other ideas, but like you said, if you can turn your drive to do that into bettering your company, that's what's going to get you to that point.
Yeah, I think that those opportunities that I'm wishing would come to my way, they'll start coming my way because I'm not actively trying to grab them. I'm just doing my thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, focusing on that.
I mean, how is it? I mean, that's how you picked up chicks at the strip club when you were younger. You know, if you were the guy that was like, oh man, you're so hot, I want to take you home, you never went home with a chick.
Yeah.
Never. But if you were like sitting there and ignoring her all night long, and you're like, no, I'm just doing my own thing, and then they're like, well, why aren't you paying attention to me? Like, that was when you ended up taking the chick home.
So you're pretty seasoned at that, huh?
No, I don't know. No comment. No comment.
I always leave those chicks at the strip club. Nah, it's all good, man. But
yeah, I mean, it's all about where you know, turning that desire and that drive into something useful. You know, if you're wanting that, if you want those things, but that's all you're focused on, it's going to be harder to attain it. Whereas if you can use that as fuel to better what you're doing and make changes in what you have the ability to make changes in, and better the things that you can make better, that's what's going to get you that end goal.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
And it is hard sometimes to look at it that way. You know, you see someone that, you know, buys a bike and just builds it tits out from the ground from the second they get it, and you're just like, man, why can't I do that? Or why, you know, why can't I afford to do that? But that's not for everybody, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, sometimes you got to build it like Johnny Cash style, one piece at a time. You know, and your business is the same way. You're not going to be able to get the big shop and the huge showroom that's got the paint booth in the back already and 10,000-15,000 square feet that you know, houses everything. Sometimes you got to just do it one piece at a time, you know, and you just got, okay, we're going to get this. And then, you know, now we got the welder set up, and, you know, now we'll get this set up.
It would be like super cool if like one day there was another guy that did artwork that was able to work with me and kind of come in and start doing little things, but develop his own style. I mean, probably no two artists are really the same unless you're just straight ripping each other off. Yeah. But have another guy come in that could almost like start alleviating some of the artwork.
Well, yeah, you have a paint shop with two artists.
Yeah,
you know, the
problem is the artists. Yeah, the problem. Two of me in the same place is not a good. It's not a good dynamic.
Yeah, you know, that's one thing I never dealt with working in service shops. There was never two artists. It was mechanics is a little different. There's not, you know, there's different ways to do things, but for the most part, there's the right way and the wrong way.
Yeah,
you know. You can build an engine with different quality, you know, different products in it, but the specs are still the same.
The torque specs are still the same.
The torque specs don't change from person to person, and the clearance requirements don't change from person to person.
Yeah, and with artwork, man, there's 100 different ways to get the same, not necessarily the 100% the same image, but you can paint a skull 4,000 different ways, and equally so, they might all be cool. Same thing with like laying out graphics. And the other thing that's hard is that like, I've been told this, but it's kind of rare. Like a lot of custom painters are not like airbrush graphics, pinstripe paint ability to do like art or to do like basic refinish and body work and all that stuff. So usually like an artist, like an airbrush guy will be an airbrush guy.
Yeah.
And then sometimes he might know how to use tape and lay out designs, but not always.
Yeah.
You know, usually like somebody that's really, really good at airbrushing has been around custom paint long enough to where they have a few things under their belt.
Yeah.
And they can play with tape, but you know what I mean? Like,
well,
it's rare that it's across the board. Everybody.
It's the same way in the mechanic side and the service shop side, because there's guys that build crazy nitro, meth, alcohol, drag motors that are just ridiculous.
Cocaine.
You know what I mean? Whatever.
What else?
And you know, like that's not my thing.
Yeah.
You know, if someone wanted that motor, I'm not saying I couldn't do it, but it's not like, you know, it would take me a lot longer. I have to do a lot of research and a lot of looking up things and a lot of phone calls to companies.
That's the exact same thing that happens with paint work. It's like there are so many different things that I know how to do. Like you can come to me and say, hey, I want to do a wizard on the side of my van. I can do it.
Yeah.
But the time it's going to take me to prepare, get it set up, and do it is so much. It's so far out of what I do all the time.
Yeah.
That it's almost not worth it.
Well, it's like metric bikes. So, you know, I can work on metric bikes, but because I don't do it day in and day out, I'm not proficient at it.
Yeah.
And so unless I'm at a point where I just have literally nothing to do, I usually pass along metric work to some of the other shops in the area that have a tech that's open, you know, that works on metric stuff, just because I'll lose money working on that bike. You know, the job that, you know, is supposed to take 4 hours takes me 7 or 8 or something like that. And that's 7 or 8 hours I could be doing working on Harley's, things that I am proficient in, and turning a profit.
Yeah, I guess, okay, so let me ask you this. From an outsider's perspective, that's the exact same analogy that I could use for paint. So, like, a lot of the things that we do are pretty much similar. Panels, a little bit of airbrush here, some silver leaf and stuff like that. It's down, it's pretty good. I can turn a profit. I can do it quickly. I'm not spending months and I'm not losing money on it. I'm making money doing that.
Yeah.
But it's not that I can't go do that wizard on the side of the van.
Yeah.
Or I can't take that job, that Simpson helmet that's just a solid airbrush ball. You know what I mean? Like all kinds of different scenes.
Yeah.
I can do those things, but I lose money doing those things.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily, and you know, one thing I've noticed is that if I do something, then other people will want it. So if I did a Simpson helmet that was solid airbrush and had all this shit that would be, I mean, it could be badass.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get asked to do it again.
Yeah.
And again and again and again. And at that point, if I lost money the first time, I'm probably going to continue to lose money, or the work quality is going to go down so that I can make money.
Yeah.
And
well,
that's just
where another person comes in. Like,
yeah.
Like from, so that same analogy on a mechanic shop, if I started getting 20 phone calls a day for valve shim adjustments on Gixxers and R1s and things,
yeah,
I would look heavily into finding a metric tech.
Yeah.
You know, someone that I could bring in that's what they do. They work on metric bikes. They're proficient in it. They've done it a lot. Their quality of work is to the level that I want my shop to be at, my shop reputation to be at.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's kind of the same thing that you're in. If you're getting a bunch of calls for wizards on vans and complete airbrushed helmets, then that's where you can expand, where you'll have that desire. You know, it doesn't make sense to bring on another airbrush artist to do stuff like that if you're not getting those calls. But if you're getting 4 or 5 calls a week talking about a completely airbrushed something or other, I mean, that's when expansion makes sense, where you have the workload to justify bringing on someone else in that regards to your business. So
yeah, so that I guess that's probably the best way to look at it. You know, it's just you know, also obviously the kind of time it takes to do that, and the kind of airbrush artists that I know, you know, they're not cheap. So, you know, knowing what it costs to that, like, I know some of the best helmet painters in the game, and I kind of know what they charge, right?
Yeah.
And trust me, the helmets that we do and the money that I charge is not even close to what these guys charge, right?
Yeah.
But you know, I wouldn't have 20 helmets lined up if I was getting $3,000 a helmet. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like one of those deals that, like, if we did a solid airbrush helmet, and even if I was doing it or somebody else is doing it, and you have like 2 solid weeks of design and execution into it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it has to be priced fairly. Like if
Yeah.
I was to bring on a metric tech and he wanted to make X amount of dollars, you know, whatever he wanted to make, you know, it may be that depending on how much he wants, that the shop labor rate is different for a metric motorcycle than a Harley motorcycle.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, we're all in business to turn a profit. We love what we do, but we have to make money. If we don't
Yeah.
make money, we're screwed. We won't stay in business. So, you know, if I was to bring on some metric tech and he's like, yo, I need $60 an hour. I'm just throwing that number out because it's close to what my shop labor rate is. I would have to raise the shop labor rate for that style bike. If I had to have that guy, if his quality of work was where it needs to be and all that stuff.
yeah, because if you're not making money on the work that he's doing as your business, then there's no point in
pointless.
taking the job.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
if you're just getting it done just to take care of the customer, then that's a one-sided business relationship with your customer.
Yeah.
And
you know, sometimes you have to do stuff like that every once in a while, but if
Yeah.
it's a recurring thing and you have a demand for it, then you have to adjust what you're charging. You
Yeah.
know? And you have to look at it from that point. You can't keep charging, you know, 0 profit or 5% profit, and expect to continue to stay in business at that point. You know.
Yeah, it's that's kind of the way, you know. There's all these little quirks and shit to figure out how to make, you know, great business decisions. Because trust me, I've made horrible decisions like in the past. Like I once airbrushed a complete Mustang, right, and it was kind of running around, you know, social media about it. I did it over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But it was kind of running around like recently, like 2 or 3 years ago, because they redid the car and brought it back up, and you know, this, that, and the other. Of course, the airbrushing is not that great. I mean, I did it like literally a year after I started airbrushing, but I literally airbrushed the entire car, you know, and I think I charged them like $2,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As opposed to now, like if that was something, that would be something I would need $10,000 to do.
Or more.
Yeah, but you know, I guess when I was younger, I could make those mistakes.
Well, and you know,
not necessarily mistakes, you know, because
it's learning.
It's
You know,
learning. Yeah,
that's the thing.
I got paid to learn on this dude's car.
Exactly. You and it's one of those things. Like we didn't. I mean, you didn't go to business school. I didn't go to business school. So I'm kind of winging it as far as the business goes.
Yeah.
You know, like okay, let's give this a shot. Let's see what happens. You know, and I'm figuring out how to control profit margins and cash flow and overhead and all that stuff. And you know, I'm sure there's people that have MBAs that are just like, yeah, of course, dude. This is what you do. If you need to do that, if you need this, you need to do this. But if
sometimes when you put so much numbers in place of actual words and things, then your business loses its character.
Yeah, no, for sure, it can be. It can become. I mean, that's how Walmarts get created.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, that's a company that I prefer not to spend my money with, not because you know.
it's
one
just,
thing or the other.
yeah.
It's just, you know, I try and spend money, my money that I earn with local or smaller things where if I do have a problem with something or I need help with something, I'm not just talking to some kid making $5.25 an hour, you know. That again, that touches back on that personal feel that we talked about. That's why people come to us. If they wanted a generic, you know, Walmart paint job, they would go to Mako.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So
yeah, it just gets like that, man. Like I said, you know, it's just the ups and downs of business, man. Like, you know,
dude, I mean, the motorcycle industry, you know, I've been in it professionally since 2010. So it's 8 years now, and it's feast or famine. It's never a constant steady.
Yeah.
You know, you're never just making this much money all the time or this slight amount of profit. You'll go through times where you're making a ton more than you were expecting, and then you go through times where sometimes you're not making anywhere near what you were expecting, and it's that balancing act that's hard. And having the, you know, it's a learning curve to figure out how much you need to kind of set aside during those awesome times to just be prepared in case you do go through a slow time. No one's expecting slow times, but you have to be prepared for it. Or no one's wanting slow times. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But you have to be prepared for if it happens. You know. And
sometimes, man, like it's just nice when they come and you can start focusing on other things as long as your money's okay and it's not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, that was like the whole deal with the pink bike. Like I said, I was expecting it to be slow all winter long because that's generally, for whatever reason, every shop I've kind of worked at or ran, the wintertime it's kind of died off. I didn't get a ton of like projects and people having the foresight to be like, hey, I'm not riding my bike for a while, let's get the work done. It's I think that's a bigger thing on the East Coast and the northeastern part of the country where there's like 6 to 8 months where you can't ride. There's snow on the ground. And so people have that, they're conditioned into, okay, I'm not going to be riding for this long, we're going to get the bike worked on. But when you live in a climate like Texas or Phoenix or anywhere like that where there's really not that much time you can't ride your bike if you're willing to put up with a little bit of discomfort. It's not ingrained into people's everyday thing where, I want to get this work done, we're going to get it done over the winter, and
well, that's what happens with us is the year before last, and everybody blamed it on like the presidential election, but we were super slow, way slower than normal. And last year we had steady work coming in. But it always seems like the same year, whether it's the tax money coming in or warm weather coming. But it just sucks when like that first 70-degree riding weather, and then all of a sudden the next week, hey man, I'm looking to get my bike done this, and this. It's almost like they put them in the garage and they just don't even think about them until that first day. That's like, oh shit, I forgot I owned a motorcycle, and it's time to get some work done to it.
Yeah, like I said, for whatever reason it seemed, and I could be completely wrong. I've never lived on the East Coast, so if you live on the East Coast and you're like, no, that's not how it is out here, I apologize. But it just seems like the people on the East Coast kind of have it figured out a little more as far as, hey, wintertime's here, let's go ahead and tear into the projects and get them done while we can't use it. And then that way it's ready for when we do. And there are people that do that. And that's what I had this winter. I was expecting to not have that because that's been my experience in the industry. And then this winter I had a solid work all winter long to where I didn't have time to touch any of the projects that I had planned on touching.
Yeah, my goal now is kind of, I still want to do that whole chopper. My goal is to have it done for Giddy Up next year. And I tried to weld up some holes on some sheet metal the other day, and that was a shit show. When this is with the TIG welder. I don't have a MIG in my shop. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, why is this so fucking hard? So, I text Mike, and he hasn't responded yet, so if he hears this before he responds to me. So I text FXR Mike and was like, hey, dude, he wants to learn how to do some paint work. He wants to do some of the paint work on his chopper and the other shovel head that he just finished. Yeah. So I'm like, hey, you come to my shop, bring some sheet metal. You can use my paint. Bring your tins. I'll help you. I'll show you that shit. You show me this shit. Like, I really want to be able to weld steel and sheet metal and things like that. So, and I honestly want to learn a little bit of shaping, just a little bit. Not crazy. I ain't trying to, go Jesse James and shit. But just to do a little bit of something would be a very accomplishing feeling. So that when I dig into this project that I want to do, by the time that it's time to start cutting and welding, I'll be a little bit more proficient at it. Instead of like if I bought a shovel head next week and tried to hardtail it, I'm gonna fuck it up. I'll probably warp the frame. Let's just put it like that, So it's being realistic with myself and giving myself the rest of this year, which I'm comfortable with the welder in my hand or with a torch in my hand now. But it's just about
it's about time in.
It's not rushing it.
It's not something that you can rush to learn. It's just like when you were learning to paint, you didn't learn overnight how to get a good quality finish. It took time in and practice and making mistakes and figuring out why. I mean, that's the biggest thing that I see when people don't succeed at something they want to. It's because they're focused on the how to do it perfectly, but they don't understand why they're doing things a certain way. Like why when I'm welding this type of metal or this gauge of metal do I set my amperage to this? And
that's the shit I got to learn.
And a lot of that comes with experience, time in, but it can also be boosted by someone helping you out. But
It's
you
the
can't.
same-
They can't just
yeah.
tell you. You can't like if FXR Mike was going to show up and be like, "Oh, if you're welding sheet metal, you want this."
Yeah.
You don't just want that answer. You want to know why, because
That's like teaching me how to fish in only one spot and
Yeah.
only in one way. So it's like I can't adapt to the changing things. Yeah.
But if you know why you do it a certain way and why you do things, if you're doing a hardtail, why you slug it and why you do this and why you're doing, why you do the things that you do, you can adapt that knowledge of why to fit things that don't fit perfectly into what you were taught.
yeah.
Yeah.
After doing that podcast with Brian up at TPJ, and then I saw his workshop afterwards. It's like now I'm on Craigslist looking at lathes, and mills, and all this shit
Yeah.
that I can't afford and don't have space to do it. But like I want to learn it now. Like
Yeah.
there's this like appreciation for that type of shit, and I have a lot of friends that know how to do it, like Moose and Adam Garley from Garley's Garage and FXR Mike and Carlos. Like there's so many talented like fabrication and machining friends that I have that I feel like, not that it's free for me to get that knowledge from them, but like I have some talented friends that could help me do stuff, even like you with motor work and stuff. I don't necessarily ever want to build motors for a living, but fuck dude, it feel really great to know that I'm the one that bolted these cases together, and it's working.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, well, it's like, we did a top end for Mike on one of his FXR4s, and he was like, "Hey man, I'm not ever going to get into the motor building game, but I just want to sit and watch you do it, and I just want to figure out why you do things a certain way." And once he had said those words, like, "I want to figure out why you do things," like that's when I was like, "All right, yeah, I'm down." Like I love it. I love teaching and I love learning.
Yeah.
If I had the mindset that I have now when I was in like 4-year D1 college, man, I would have been so successful. I just had a completely different mindset at that point. If I had this drive to learn and to figure out why things happened a certain way, I mean, I would hope I'm still in the motorcycle industry, but I could be in a completely different facet.
Well, it's like what I was getting at earlier in this conversation is that like I have that desire, but I've been clouding it with the desire to put my shop in another part, and it's like the only beneficial thing would be me learning more. That's the only like guaranteed thing that's going to be a better for me in the future. Is if I focus on my skills and what I get better at and I learn how to do. If I focus all my time and attention on trying to build, a storefront, then I'm literally not saying that it can't be great and it can't make great things happen, but I'm not gaining any skills or knowledge off that.
I mean, that's, when you're talking about lathes and stuff like that, that's one thing that I would love to learn. And, a couple of the shops I've worked in have had lathes. And when we went through slow periods and slow times, I was always in there just messing with it. And I'm sure I jacked up the tooling and that stuff because I didn't have anybody teaching me. So I'm just like kind of playing with it, like, all right, let's see what this does. And the machines were in dealerships, so they weren't being kept up because it wasn't, they were from back in the 90s when that was popular, when that was a requirement. You had to have a lathe and
couldn't go
knowledgeable.
Get wheel spacers like a whole kit of them.
Exactly, and so I was messing with that, and then since I opened this shop, I haven't bought that stuff. I would love to, and I would love to have someone, even if I have to pay someone to come down for, a night every other month or something to teach.
I think that now the other cool thing is that there's a lot of like different people that put on classes and shit. So it's like there's stuff on YouTube. There's like individual people that do classes across the country that you can like go take a sheet metal class or lathe.
Yeah, the YouTube thing is a little sketchy because if you get an example,
I think YouTube's good when you've already tried it and you're looking for an answer to a question.
Well, and it depends on who's doing the talking. Like if you get on Big Joe's YouTube and you're trying to learn metal fab, that's a guy who knows what he's talking about and he's going to give you quality advice. But if you get on YouTube and you're looking for metal fab and it's redneck Bob in his garage that is,
bending,
you know what I mean?
Whatever,
Not saying that he can't do it or that the job didn't get accomplished, but it's just sometimes they may not teach you the right way to do things and the quality and the perfect way to do things. And I want to learn the most quality and way to do something and the way to keep that quality high. I don't want to just do it and say, hey, it works, but it's not the best looking or it's not perfect. No, I want to do it and have it be perfect and look amazing and have the quality and the strength and all that, you know.
I don't know if I said this on the podcast with Brian from TPJ, but I know that I either said it to him afterwards or I said it in conversation with somebody else. But I wish that, and I hate saying I wish all the time, but it would have been nice to like dive into these type of skill sets before we needed them to make money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if it would have been a hobby in the garage, you know, while I was working at Walmart changing oil back in the day, that would have been like awesome because I could have honed it. I could have fucked up things that weren't important instead of like, you know, now where it's like, you know, you're running a business and you have all this stuff and you barely have enough time to even work on your own shit.
Yeah.
But now you're going to bring in this big fucking machine that needs some love and attention. You know what I mean?
It's definitely a long-term investment. You're not going to, if you've never run a lathe, you're not going to buy a lathe and then the next day
be banging out wheel spacers.
Exactly. We'll be expected to be doing perfect work.
Yeah.
You know, that comes again with the time. And it's one of those things that you have to look at it as a long-term investment in your business. You know, there's short-term investments that turn you a profit real quick, like a more efficient air compressor or, you know, a tool that you needed to do a job. That's a short-term investment that the dividends are returned overnight or in a very short period of time. When it comes to something like that where it's a skill that you have to learn, it'll still have returns, but it's over a longer period of time because you have to take the time to learn that skill, you know, before you can start seeing those returns.
And so that brings me back to what I was saying, that now that I'm, instead of feeling like I'm running out of time, I'm looking at how much time I actually have based on the fact of how many like really talented motorcycle builders and fabricators and painters are already there in the industry and how long they've been doing it.
Yeah.
So instead of feeling like, okay, if I'm not here by 37, then I'm fucked.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of the mentality that I've had.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to kind of like break that down and realize, you know what, I don't have the opportunity to learn this the same way that Brian did or you know, other talented fabricators or painters. Like I learned how to paint that way.
Yeah.
You know, I got to fuck me and my homeboy stuff up way before I did it for customers.
Yeah.
But not the fab work. So I have to just learn how to do that on my own time in a new way that maybe other people don't. So and I might not ever be able to use it on customer work.
And you may not.
But I still want to be able to do it for myself.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's the
which makes it hard to justify that $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 machine.
Yeah.
To make wheel spacers.
For sure. And you know, like I've been kind of looking every once in a while on Craigslist. You know, I'm not going to go out and buy a full-size lathe or even a mini lathe. I'll probably end up purchasing a tabletop lathe first, you know, and just learning. And then once, you know, do the machining work the same way that I'm planning on growing the business.
Yeah.
You know, buy something small, and once I've outgrown that and I can justify a bigger machine that has more capabilities, then purchasing that at that point.
Yeah, and
instead of just being like, hey, this is where I want to be. I want to be the shop that can do this level of machining, so I'm going to go and buy $10,000 and a lathe and a bore bar and a flow bench and all this stuff. You know, instead of doing that, I'm going to, you know, hey, let's start with a $300, you know, crappy lathe. And then once I've outgrown that crappy lathe to the point where my projects are, you know, then looking at investing in the next step up, not going straight to balls out, you know.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what I'm probably going to end up doing.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
just when you're a tool guy, you know, you're like looking in a book or you're looking online, you're like, I don't need this $2,500 lathe, but it's a good deal because it's really $10,000 and I can get it for $25,000.
Yeah.
And then that's usually why, you know, Carlos said it best. He goes, hey, after you've realized that you suck at welding, I'll buy that welder from you later on. I got a really nice welder when I got it, you know, and he's like, you know, let me know when you're ready to sell that and I'll buy it from you.
That's funny.
So
yeah, I know exactly what that's like. When we're sitting in my shop and I've got a toolbox that's taller than I am over there, jammed full of tools. You know, if there was an addiction to buying tools and being a tool whore, I have that addiction.
You're a tool whore.
I love, you know,
yeah,
I'll buy.
Like you need 40 different types of Allen sockets and shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've got, you know, stubby Allens, I've got micro stubby Allens, I've got, you know, mini ball Allens, long ball Allens, long straight Allens.
Is it not like whenever you finally get a chance to use that $180 set or $180 set, you like fuck, now I have a reason to use this little tool.
Oh, it's
the best. Like,
well, it's awesome. And then on top of that, with a lot of those specialty sockets and things like that, when you need it, it'll make that job go so much easier. So, you know, is it possible to get the job done without that one socket? Yeah, of course. People have been tearing bikes apart and putting them together with basic hand tools.
Where you know the tappet covers on like a twin cam or something.
Yeah.
So when you're taking all those off, like powder coating or whatever, those bolts in the back that are hard to get to. So you either get an out like a little L bracket Allen.
Yeah.
It's so nice once I actually bought a nice quality ball end.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'll usually break it. I'll break it loose with the you know, the regular L shape Allen or the angle, whatever the fuck. I don't know the terms.
Yeah.
But then I got my other one that I can just get in there, and it's a long, and I can kind of, you know, I can just get it off quick, and it's like, fuck, man, like that used to take me 10 minutes to get these last 2 bolts out.
Yeah.
Or 4 out.
Exactly. That's, you know, and when you do it as a profession, it's easier to justify those kind of things, because that's something that, you know, you'll use more than once or twice.
Yeah, it's the same. Like when I was over at Carlos's shop and he was building the exhaust for the bagger, and I was helping him with all that stuff, and like he's like, well, hey, go in the toolbox and get this out, and I go in, it's like a 40 tooth ratchet, and I'm like, what the fuck is this primitive shit? You know, it's like click 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 click, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm used to 80 tooth and just super nice tools and 40 different types of, you know, 1/2 inch sockets and all these type of things, and I opened up and he's got 1 1/2 inch socket. It's nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Not talking shit about his tool collection.
No,
but
there's
I'm
nothing-
kind of talking shit about his tool collection.
Well, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's definitely possible to work on bikes and do it with those tools.
Yeah.
But when you do it as a profession, or you have the addiction of buying tools, or you're a tool whore, you know, I mean, you go and I've got 4 different 1/2 inch sockets, you know, 3/8 drive 1/2 inch. And then if you talk about 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch drive 1/2 inch, I've got another couple other sets, and 1/4 inch half drive, you know, or 1/4 drive 1/2 inch. I got a couple other sets, and I've got 4 or 5 of each drive of ratchet. You know, I've got a long flex head 3/8, a long, you know, rigid head 3/8, a short flex head 3, you know, and it just keeps going and going and going. And it's funny because I have to sometimes kind of talk myself into like, you're retarded, Mark. Why are you doing it this way? Because I'll do a job, or I'll do like a part of a job every time with a certain ratchet, and then I go to do it again, and if I haven't been proficient in putting things back when I'm done with them during that day, like let's say I finished another job and I hadn't cleaned up, and I just instantly jumped into the next job, and I'll be going to do that job and I can't find that one ratchet that I use for that job. I have 5 other ratchets that can do it, but I'll waste 10 minutes looking for that one stupid ratchet that I do the job with, when I could have just grabbed another one and gotten it done.
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
just done it. I'm the same way.
I gotta like tell myself like, no, Mark, listen, you know, you can use this other one. It's gonna work just the same, even though it's just not the one that I use every time.
I had this like really, really tiny 3/8 drive ratchet, right? So it's like littler than like what a normal 1/4 inch ratchet would be, right?
Yeah.
But when I break something loose with a big, you know, like a big regular 3/8 ratchet, then I immediately always take that off and put the little one on, because it fits in my hand and I can just ratchet it out real quick. You know what I mean? And so like, I got to have that ratchet with me, or otherwise it's like, I don't want to do this alone. You know? That's kind of what happens with those kind of tools and shit.
Well, it was the same, you know, when I was working at dealerships and I was doing stuff on the side at the house, I found myself in the same thing. Like you know, I'll break stuff loose with a ratchet and then I'll remove it with a screw gun, just to pull it out quick, you know?
Yeah.
And when I was working before I had a screw gun at home, I'd be sitting there and I would get mad because it was taking so long to take a bolt out, because of having to sit there and physically spin it. And I'm like, people have done it this way for hundreds of years, Mark. Like, it's okay, you know? But I had to like talk myself down. I was like, this is BS, man. I'm sitting here and I gotta turn this thing 1,000 rotations to get this bolt out, and if I just had that screw gun, I could have got it out in 2 seconds. And,
yeah, exactly.
You know, and it comes from the flat rate side of working on bikes, you know. And when you work in a dealership, it's all like, get it done quick. You know, how quick can you get it done? And still keep your quality up. Like, you can't get it done quick at the sacrifice of quality. But when you're used to that, when you go to using primitive ratchets or primitive tool, and I'd say primitive with air quotes, you know, but when you're using not the tools that are the fastest way, it kind of irks you a little bit, you know. And
Do you believe in this concept? I think I think my Snap-on guy just kind of honey-dicked me into the toolbox about 15 or 12 years ago. But he made a comment, and this is a good sales point, and I've always kind of used this to justify my $10,000 toolbox. But He said, like, if you ever want to go get a job somewhere, or say, he said not even that. He goes, if you were going to hire somebody to come work for you, and someone rolled up with a Craftsman box and, you know, a lot of, like, very shitty tools or just not very, you know, not, he didn't invest in his, in what he does for a living, right? That's kind of what he said. But someone that's pulling, like, if you hire them and they show up they've invested in their craft and their tools, like, so they have quality shit, and they're showing up with a nice box and nice tools in it, and, you know, or the guy that just has, like, a, you know, some basic thrown together shit, the mismatched tools, you know, unorganized, whatnot. He said that it shows a lot about someone's character in their job or the job they intend to do. Now, of course, that's with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know?
I mean, so, like, you know, you can't, you know, I would hire someone that has that basic thrown together tools if their work quality was better than the guy with the snap-on ones. But let's say you have two candidates and one guy has a thrown together set of tools that are rusted and old and the 40 tooth ratchets like you were talking about, and you can tell they just haven't reinvested anything they've made into their tools. And there's another candidate that does the same quality of work, the same stuff, but has a nice toolbox and everything's organized and his tools are all laid out where he can find them, and he's got matching sets of everything.
He's going to be more efficient.
Well, number one, he's going to be more efficient. Number two, it shows me that he cares about what he does.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that there are fantastic techs that have thrown together tool sets, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, they probably do better work than a lot of guys. There's a lot of people that buy high quality tools that don't do quality work because they want to have that professional look, but they don't have that desire to put out quality work.
So that's the grain of salt that I was.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, that's the same. That's what I started to do. I mean, that's why I have.
Well, I always looked at it too, like from a business standpoint. Like, you know, remember the big shop that I had that you kind of when we first met?
Yeah.
The guy next door worked on some really badass old school cars.
Yeah.
Right. So let's imagine that you're bringing your '58 Impala in there to get done, like dialed. Right. He has a nice one, a badass one. He's built them.
Yeah.
But you're not like the hood guy. You're just, you know, Joe Blow tech guy that your dad had a '58 Impala and you want to come build one badass, blah, blah, blah. So that's a $100,000 car, easy. And you're going to come in, you're going to restore it, you're going to be $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 in this car.
Yeah.
And you walk into somebody's shop that you're about to hand them $70,000, $80,000, $90,000.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there with, you know, about to do it with some, you know, Sears Craftsman tools. You know what I mean? It just makes you kind of wonder, like, who's really investing. Like, you would think that the shop that's going to do high performance or high quality work would have high quality tools to, you know, make that work realistic. You know, like I said, you can't.
Yeah, no, I know
can
exactly
go to Home
what you're
Depot
talking
and
about.
get a
It's the
paint
same,
gun.
You know, there's
you
a
know?
lot of guys that come into like an independent motorcycle shop and they expect to see oil on the ground and, you know, parts everywhere, and it drives me a little crazy right now that I'm just out of so much room that there are parts all over my shop. You know, I don't have the space to have everything laid out the way that I prefer to do it. But, you know, the way that I look at it is the guys that want to come to an independent shop and they're cool with having stuff all over the ground and parts everywhere and things like that are usually also going to be more keen to try and do stuff themselves. Yeah. You know, for the most part. I'm trying to make my shop professional, so the guy that's used to potentially dealing with like a BMW dealership or a Mercedes-Benz dealership comes in and feels like, you know, leaving, if he's got a CVO bagger, let's say, and he's comfortable with leaving his $50,000 motorcycle with me. Yeah. You know, and I got to make it look professional for them. That's why I try and have nice lifts and nice tools and keep the floor swept and clean and, you know, things like that.
Yeah, presentation. Plus, all that stuff makes your workflow
makes
better.
It easy, yeah, and it makes life easier. If I've got everything where I know where it goes, when I go to look for it, I know where it is. I'm not wasting my time trying to find stuff. And there are plenty of guys that have shops with tons of stuff in them, and they know where everything is, you know, and it's not that. But if I can have it organized to where even if you don't, like you didn't put it there, I can explain to you exactly where it is perfectly, and you can find it without any sort of hesitation. That's what I like. And right now I just don't have enough room for that with how much work I have in the shop, unfortunately. Exactly. But, you know, that's what I try to do. You know, I try to keep everything very professional looking. So if you're like, hey, I need a 20 amp mini fuse. Okay, cool. It's on the second roll cart, third row down, third drawer in. You know, that's where those are. You know, I'm not like, oh, it's somewhere in all that electrical stuff. Just start flipping through the boxes and you'll find it.
You come to my shop, it's the third drawer on the toolbox. Just move shit around. It's in there somewhere. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
And so that's why I try to do that to breed confidence. You know, and it's not conning people. I'm not trying to make people think that I'm better than I am, you know, or that I'm a super high quality.
Yeah, but you don't want to like start a business relationship with someone where you almost have to prove yourself in every aspect of the form.
Well,
So if you come out, if they respect your business and how you operate your business,
Yeah.
then they already give you, like, they're giving you points there, so you're not having to prove yourself on that level.
well, it's proving yourself at a different point in the relationship. It's
Yeah.
proving yourself and building confidence from the second they come in, instead of waiting till after they've seen the quality of your work to start the building of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no one should have confidence in their tech until after they've done work and they've seen the quality of work they put out. But if you can start the seed, plant the seed of building confidence from the second they walk into the shop,
Yeah.
that's a positive.
So, like you just said, planting the seed, but the one seed you don't want to plant before you even start the work is doubt. Oh man, this dude's shop looks like a shithole. I don't see how he can do nice work.
How does
out
he
of his
find
shit.
anything? How does
Yeah.
he know where anything is? Yeah, exactly.
So you just want to be presentable, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are you telling people about what you got today, or?
Oh, the Dyna. Man, I needed a Dyna daily. I needed something that I can ride around on. And you know, when I got back from California, I was planning on getting I went and looked at an FXR. It's just a piece of shit, you know, and it just wasn't worth it. You know, I really wanted it. I was already having, you know, dreams of this, you know, relatively simple bike.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'm not trying to build a bike. I'm just trying to build something that I can have a good time riding on, and I can get to and from work, and you know, kind of go from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, you know, I woke up this morning and I saw this thing online in Houston, and it was too good to be true in my opinion. It still is. You know, in a sense, it's like, you know, I usually don't get those good kind of deals like that. I usually, you know, buy $6,000 FXRs and tear it all down and should have just bought a frame. You know?
Yeah.
But you know, hopefully, you know, everything smooths out, and it could be, you know, I'd like to get it dialed in enough that I could ride that to Indianapolis. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to dump too, you know, much money. I just want it to look presentable.
Yeah, you're not trying to build another gold bike with it. You know?
Yeah, and then, you know, and also it's like I'm trying to get off the bagger so I can stop racking up miles on it.
Yeah.
You know, because those little bike night rides and little rides to work every day, like that little 20 miles here and there, next thing you know, 2 weeks later, that's another 1,000 miles on the odometer.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when you're trying to sell a bagger, unfortunately, or anything that's expensive like what I'm trying to get for this bagger, which it's not expensive compared to new baggers, but it's a new bagger with work done to it. And,
Yeah.
you know, some dudes may never put 7,000 miles on a motorcycle. So if this thing already has 7,000 miles, it's, to some people, it's tainted. It's no good anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like one of those deals. I just want to stop putting miles on it. I want to just kind of leave it alone. I don't want to tear it up. And then if someone does buy it, I got to go back and fix a whole bunch of rock chips all over it, which I kind of already do.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of there. But, you know, we have a lot of work, man. So I'm fucking totally, you know, I guess the word's blessed in that aspect. So it's like, you know, I'm super fortunate that I'm able to go get this bike.
Yeah.
Mind you, the price I got it for is pretty crackhead. So, you know, we'll see how that goes and everything. But, you know, we're just, you know, like I said, I got a couple parts laying around the shop that I can throw on it and make it a little more comfortable, make it a little more custom and shit. But I don't know. Now I guess I needed a Dyna. So I have the Dyna, but the T-Sport's not going to be done for a while.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a
and
long-term project.
It's a
not
long-term project in relative. And then the FXR that's sitting right here is the same thing. It's like, you know, it's technically a long-term project too as well. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to like half-ass build it again, and I'm taking the wheels off of it to run on the T-Sport. So that's going to be a longer project. And honestly, the next bike after the T-Sport I want to do is the chopper. So the FXR is kind of on the back burner.
Yeah.
You know, and if the bagger sells, all I'm just going to do is buy another FXR with that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if I do that, then I might have a reason. I'll just sell this Dyna that I got now.
Yeah.
And then, you know, as long as I have a clean, decent daily is what I want, you
Yeah.
know, that, you know, is not racking up miles and not fucking up nice paint jobs and shit.
Yeah,
So,
well, it's one that you don't care if you rack up miles.
Yeah,
on. You can
yeah.
rack miles up, and you're like, whatever. You know, that's like my Road Glide. You
Yeah.
know, my Road Glide is that bike to me. It's the bike that, you know, it's reliable, very reliable. I can jump on it and ride it to the West Coast, ride it to the East Coast, ride it wherever. And it's been jacked up over the years. So, like, let's say if I did, wash it out in a gravel parking lot or something, it's not going to be the end of the world.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, I'll still be bummed, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be like, man, I just jacked up my $6,000 Jace paint job. Like, now I'm going to have to pay him to fix this stuff. And
with us moving to downtown Dallas now, I was literally, if I leave my shop, I'm literally 2.5 miles from my house. Going to my shop, it's like 3.5 because you got to go around the highways and shit. But so I'm 2.5 miles from the shop, and now I'm going to be 22 miles from the shop. Yeah. So, and I drive that van every day, and I don't, and it's $90 to fill that motherfucker up.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't want to. I would almost rather just leave the van at the shop.
Yeah.
And then, that way I'll always have the van there when I need it. But I can just ride the bike downtown and I can kind of zip around through traffic too. So it's not like a big hunk thing. And I just need to probably get some Leather Pros or something, or some Conleys, just some kind of bags to throw on this Dyna. That way I can take some shit that I need or whatever.
It's more functional.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a functional bike. I'm not trying to look like, I'm going to a bike show every time I go to work. I'm just, I'm not throwing a paint job on it, and I'm not doing any of that type of shit.
Yeah.
So I have a Conley's fairing. I'm probably just gonna paint match it to the stock color, this purple.
Yeah.
Maybe re-clear the tins on this bike just because it's a little dusty.
Yeah.
And then that's it, dude. I'm trying to be cheap in my life for once.
not go balls out and dump 30 grand into a bike before you even ride it.
Exactly. And we have some big jobs. We have a lot of baggers that we're painting right now, and they pay real well, and that's kind of paving the way. I'm still paying on the van. I'm about to pay that off here in a week, so I'll be square on the van, and then I got to start saving for the Dyna, to get the T-Sport done. That way we can, when we roll out to Phoenix, we can be shining, and I guess it's just shining. But cool, man. What's anything else going on? Like, you got any cool things going on?
Just making stuff happen here. We're gonna keep digging into the Softail a little bit more. It's
still got potential.
Yeah, there's still some things I'd like to change. I'm working with Paul over at Lindell on some rotors and sprockets and things for it potentially, and waiting to figure out if I'm gonna, trying to see if I'm gonna wait for Mustang to come out with a seat, because I like to run Mustang seats.
Yeah.
Or even a Lucky Dave's seat, because I put their seat on my Road Glide and I really enjoy it. Or if I'm gonna just buy the Saddleman that everybody else has already thrown on their bikes, just little stuff here and there with that bike. And like I said, that one's it's a waiting game on that bike, because I don't know if I'm gonna continue to dump money into it, because the way that I dump money into bikes is not the same way that you dump money into bikes. Like when I dump 10 grand into a bike, you could look at it from the outside and you'd never see the 10 grand, because it'd be in pistons and cam support plates and head work and transmission work and primary work, and it's all covered by covers, and you'll never see that stuff. And so trying to figure out if I want to go ahead and do that on this bike and do the the 124 with some head works and an HPI throttle body and a Baker Grudge Box transmission and stuff like that, or if I'm just gonna kind of leave it for a little bit and just ride it and see where the breaking points are on this new platform, because not a ton of people have a ton of miles on these on the new Softails yet. So
and that's kind of not that the bagger's a scary thing, as far as that, but man, it's a lot of, with me, my last bagger, I just look at a bike that I jumped $35,000 in over the course of a year or two, and then I didn't get none of that back in building it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a scary thing to be that deep into a bike financially.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what with the bagger. Like I want to make it look cool. I want it to make it feel like you're riding something different than a stock bike.
Yeah.
But I don't want to fucking put a down payment on a house inside of it.
Yeah.
Which we all want you customers to do that for us so that we can live. But no, I just don't want to do that, because I can't enjoy it, because I'm worried that it's an investment. I don't want to go do it and then do what I did on my Gold bike and ride over, which I do want to do that, but you know, on a brand new bike that I'm still paying $20-something thousand for,
Yeah.
and I put thousands of dollars in it, you don't want to tear it up in 2 years, just balls to the wall on the bike, you know, and then, you know, it's not.
It's just a, you know.
It's a tough one.
We hate to admit it, but our pocketbooks aren't that deep. You know, there's definitely people who can do that.
I guess I don't have bagger money.
There's definitely people who can buy a new bike and dump $20,000 into it, and in 2 years sell it for a $15,000 loss, and it's not a big deal to them because they got 2 years out of enjoyment.
Well, also I have friends like Brad. Brad's one of those guys that he can buy a bike, dump $15,000 in it, and get his money back. And me, I'm the king of taking losses. You know what I mean? So I'm all about the loss. You know what I mean? Well, cool, man. I guess we're good, man. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for swinging down through Austin on your way back to Dallas.
Yeah, when I get home tonight, it's going to be a 600-mile day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that last Thursday? You know, Thursday I drove up to Dallas.
I felt bad, too. We were riding back from that. I was like, man, I didn't take any pictures of his bike, and I had my camera, too. I was like, fuck, man, I wanted to get some pictures of it, but it just slipped my mind.
Dude, I didn't even tell anybody I went. I was like,
this is a wasted great opportunity to be cool on social media.
Well, that was what I enjoyed about it, though, is that it was a fun little quick trip up there, and it wasn't for anything except to ride the bike and hang out with a friend. You know
exactly.
I mean? That's what makes it fun sometimes. Because I thought about that too. I was like, man, we could have taken some pictures with the bikes and could have done some cool stuff, but it could have put a damper on the fact that we were just hanging out as friends. You know what I mean? And not a business transaction.
Like trying to exactly.
Trying to prove, look, we're cool too, guys. We do this. You know what I mean?
But we do things in silent too.
Yeah.
All right. See you later, guys.